Matt Walsh, what do you got to say about my fair town?
How do you want me to describe that guy? Like, really, is he a victim? You think that guy's a victim? This is like insane levels of selfishness and entitlement.
I don't know. He's black, so I have a feeling you're gonna tell me what the answer should be.
So speaking of cities that are falling apart, Daily Mail has this headline: Seattle in free fall under hyper-woke mayor as new order allows drug users to avoid prosecution with homeless encampments growing in the city.
Source, the Daily Mail. Funnily enough, this thing ended up being just complete fake news. Like, there was no order. We saw this on stream. Right-wing media, and this was probably leaked from within her own office because there are enemies everywhere, the deep state, but like no such order existed. This isn't even a misinterpretation of any existing order. Like, it's just nothing happened. It's just completely made up.
Seattle article says Seattle has erupted into chaos under its new ultra woke mayor as a police order allows drug users to avoid prosecution in the city plagued by crime and homelessness. Democratic Socialist Katie Wilson was sworn in as the city's 58th mayor on Friday. The progressive politician who co-founded the
right-wing media outright lying, who can imagine? Well, the real betrayal here isn't that right-wing media lied, which they always do. The real betrayal is that the the rumor that she had implemented this order came out from like the city government. Or to put it another way, as soon as this information somehow made its way out there, there was a local, like I think the Bremerton police agency was like, come on, Seattle PD, come over to us. We're not woke. Like, a bunch of people responded to it as though it was planned, which makes me think that it was planned. They were waiting for Katie Wilson to go in there so they could leak fake information to kind of like fan the flames against her, you know?
Transit Riders Union has, if drug offenders 17,000 is not a massive undercount, which it almost certainly is a massive undercount. That means 2% of the population is living on the street, strung out on heroin and fentanyl, which is an insanely high number, by the way. 2% is a massive undercount population. By the way, Seattle's total population is about 800,000. So if they have 16 or 17,000 homeless people, that's like 2%.
Homeless people doesn't just mean sleeping out on the street, by the way. Homeless people means people who don't have permanent housing. A lot of places will count you as homeless if you're just like sleeping on the couch of a friend because your housing status is like not, like you're basically relying on the generosity of another person. It's not a fixed home for you. No, there are not 16,000 people on the streets of Seattle on fentanyl.
Of the 0%. And that is possible. You can do that. There are many cities in the world that have zero homeless people. There are many towns, even in America, that have basically zero homeless people. So it is possible to achieve, but instead, Seattle is totally.
Can you name one? Could you name one? You mean like a town with like 2,000? Even in a town with 2,000 people, you're probably going to have a bum or two. Like, it kind of depends. Like, is the weather so inhospitable that it would just kill them when winter comes around? Or is it like they've moved to a different town where they can get benefits? This total nonsense. There are very, very, very few real communities in America that have no homeless people. Now, in Europe, it happens, but they have like social programs. Fuck, I just realized why I don't watch these videos anymore. They're really boring.
Infested, and now it's only going to get worse under this.
Like, look at how bored he is, man. I find the tedium of responding to right-wing dishonesty boring, but I have fun doing it in my own way. For them, it's just like, all right, put it through the mill. What is the Daily Wire giving me today? Okay, we got this to read. Da-da-da. That's why when they put like the quotes from their own website's article up there, they read every word. They never seem impatient to read through it because they want to get to their own analysis. Like me, when I'm reading something, you can tell I'm bored as just reading an article out loud. I want to get to the part where I'm talking. But for him, he's like, all right, well, we're filling up the video time. Thank God we're sparing me the effort of needing to produce something somewhat original, you know?
New mayor admits that if a thing only harms the person doing it, then it should be legal. Now, again, I don't really accept that. I think you have to explain, like, people take that as self-evident, and I don't see it as self-evident. What only harms that person, okay, so why should it necessarily be legal to do something if it only harms you?
So
random
boring.
Violent outbursts in Seattle or anywhere else are committed by drug addicts. When somebody is high on fentanyl or heroin or anything, or crack, or any drug, they are a danger to the people around them. Yeah, when you hear a story about somebody getting pushed onto the train tracks or
Dude, look at the pacing of this dude. It's like a slog. I just can't imagine like maybe the average right winger is actually much stronger than me. Maybe fascism makes you strong because I do not have the strength to make it through this. But these people just like watch 4, 5, 6, 10 videos these a day. Bro's retired. He's just phoning it in. Okay, legitimately, you know how you know Matt Walsh is just phoning it in? Because he hasn't sided with Nick Fuentes yet. Literally. He hasn't gone the way of Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes and broken with the Daily Wire and done the full like anti-Semitism bit. Because he'll absolutely, if he was like active on his game, he for sure would. But he's already got enough money to last him, so whatever. Maybe he will in the future.
Fentanyl or heroin, right? Few examples.
Ooh.
Everybody else. So we pulled together. Here's some images from around Seattle, and this Daily Mail article has a few of them. And I don't think
just going through the article, man.
We need, but just a few examples of what Seattle looks like if you were to make the mistake of walking around the town.
This is the Museum of Popular Art. What's it? Fuck. Why am I blanking on its name here? On Mopop. Thank you, Mopop. Yeah, this place is great. I've walked by this place 1,000 times. I've never seen this many tents. Maybe this was like during the height of the pandemic or something. I've never. The funny thing is that this is actually the best place to set up tents because this parking lot right across the way from Mopop is a pit. No one ever parks there. I don't even know if you can park there. I've never seen anyone park there. It's disgusting. And the ground is all cracked and no one uses it. So like if that's like the perfect place to set up homeless encampments, you know? That's one block of Seattle, but all of Alabama, Arkansas, and Mississippi looks like that. Well, the difference is that in Seattle, they're allowed to set up encampments, whereas in a lot of poorer right-wing cities or right-wing communities, they're not allowed to set up encampments. They just like maraud over to they just sit on the stoops outside the local food mart, or they like wander out into the alleys or whatever. The visibility is the issue. Like in the blue cities, they're more visible because the mayor's like less likely to crack down on them. But like at the end of the day, the predominance of homelessness is it's a pretty like it's pretty all over issue here, you know. In right-wing cities, they buy those bus tickets to blue cities. That is true. That is true.
What Seattle looks like if you were to make the mistake of walking around the town, and
I don't know where this is just like a edge of I don't know where this is. Make the mistake of walking around the town. This could be anywhere.
Oh, that's a good one, right?
That's a good one, right? Is this the bike path that crosses underneath the bridge that leads from downtown to Capitol Hill? I think I know where this is.
Yeah, so this is what it's like to okay, you want to so I don't know where that is in Seattle, but you want to walk down that particular street in Seattle, and that's what you're walking by.
He seems like really, really interested in this topic, man.
So you're telling me this shouldn't be a crime? You're telling me
wait, what? This? Wait, making a mess in a parking garage, or this? What, you can really feel the passion? Yeah, man. Like people are like, would you debate Matt Walsh if you could? I don't know. Is this the energy he would bring to debate? Like to the debate? Is this like what I would get? Like he would just show up with some like Polaroids of homeless people, and he'd be like, "Look at this. Now look at this." Yeah, like they're too lazy to even come up with a good sociological argument for why homelessness is bad, because urban decay is bad. You can make like 1,000 really good arguments for how stuff like this is socially deleterious, but they don't even bother to because they're so lazy. They look at this and they're like, yeah, it's bad because it's like ugly. You tell me this shouldn't be illegal. It's like, yeah, it's gross. It's icky. And these aren't even people. They're like animals or something. They're all on drugs. Like you could arrive at almost identical conclusions if you wanted to, right? With good arguments. And they choose not to because a part of it's because they're lazy. Part of it is because they're stupid. I mean, why use the big brain arguments when you can use the small brain arguments, you know?
That no one else is harmed by this, really? When you got thousands of people who are setting up camps in the middle of the city.
Millions of people.
And getting high. No one else is harmed by that?
Okay, I just want more like deep cut expose shit on Seattle.
He was one of the homeless guys, and listen to what he says. Listen.
Sorry about all the throat clearing again. I went on a hike right before stream, and by the end of I had to rush back to the car because we spent more time in the woods than we expected to. So by the end of the hike, I was like, So I'm still like recovering a little bit from the. It was a good constitutional in the morning, but holy shit, like I was definitely. We took more of an incline than I thought. I think the final like minutes of the run back to the car was like 300 feet of elevation in 6 minutes or something. Like it was just a staircase basically built into the woods that I was. So why'd you have to run? Because I was late for stream. I was late. I was if I didn't. Okay, I wasn't like running, but I was like trying to hoof it back up. I wasn't really taking many breaks, you know.
What's up, my guy?
How you doing?
You live here?
No, I just clean all this stuff up, man.
I don't know where this one is. This isn't in Maine, Seattle, I don't think. Is this somewhere on Rainier? Rainier is kind of a pit. Does anyone know where this one is?
What's happened here, man? Everyone just took over Joanne Fabrics?
Joanne
Wow.
Fabrics. This has got to be in North Seattle or something. This feels like a North Seattle thing. This is Ballard? Okay, yeah, in north of the channel. Okay.
What's the city offering? Any services? Any outreach?
Well, they gave me an apartment, but they said that I have to fix him to be able to stay in the apartment. I said, no way, you know?
All right, so Jerome, you for the record, outreach workers offered you a place to go, an apartment, but you said no because they wanted you to neuter your dog and you ain't doing it.
I'm not doing it.
Why not?
Because I want puppies, you know? I want at least one puppy.
Yeah, what you're seeing is housing first in action, homeless people being given units, but some are now rejecting the apartments because they don't like the accommodations or the restrictions.
Yeah, wait, genuine question. Why would that be a requirement for getting a homeless person a house? You have to neuter your dog? Isn't that kind of weird? Like, I think you should neuter your dog, but isn't that kind of weird as a precondition for living in a house? I don't really understand how. It's not a lot of like weird. A lot of apartments require it. I have never heard of an apartment requiring proof that your dog is neutered, but admittedly I've never like owned a dog. I've only owned like cats, probably to prevent puppy mills. I guess so. It just seems kind of weird as like a precondition for living somewhere. Feels like some arbitrary reason they made up TBH. I mean, the point that this video is trying to get at here, right, is that homeless people will often make, with all due respect to Jerome over here, irrational decisions when it comes to their housing, to which the obvious answer is, no shit, dog. They're homeless. Their brain's probably cooked. What do you mean? Yeah, no, obviously. Housing first initiatives don't work, even though they've been proven to work over and over and over again in more civilized countries than ours, because this one guy cared more about the perceived well-being of his dog than he did about living in an apartment. Yeah, they're homeless. Their brains are soup. You have to like, it's not an individualist policy. You have to like round it out. If you implement housing first initiatives for homeless people and you get half of them off the street, that is a huge win. And then you still have half them on the street. But, and listen, let me look, okay? This is a carrot and a stick thing, okay? In my opinion, you are morally allowed to be a little bit more draconian to homeless people if they absolutely have a place to stay, if they wanted to. Like, in a city where there is no place to live at their income level, which is 0, I think it is barbaric to kick them around or, like, tear down their encampments or whatever, you know? Because, like, what the they're just, I guess they just die then, right? But if they have an option on the table, like, listen, man, you could go over here and live in like a little, you know, like a little mini house and get some like social welfare housing or whatever. Like, if they have that option available to them, you can then be a little bit more like, okay, dog, you need to get the fuck off Main Street. Like, come on. Where am I supposed to go, man? You know where you're supposed to go. You're aware of where you're supposed to go. You're familiar with the place you're supposed to go. Come on, you know? You're allowed to you can get away with more, basically, which I think is fine, because sometimes homeless people really are belligerent, you know, and sometimes they do need to be arrested and they need to be like forced into treatment programs and stuff, and sometimes they do need to be in jail, and that sucks and that's not fair, but it is what it is, and none of that can really like you can't really manage that gradient of decisions or judgments unless you have a way out for them, right? How can you judge a homeless person for any of the shit they do when they're that... Like, right-wingers online will be like, how could that young man not have done a school shooting? Stacy rejected him, you know? And then they'll be like, what do you mean homeless people get to just, like, stink up a grocery store? just because their life is in tatters and they have nothing and no one, and they're gonna die soon, you know? Like we all understand that there are extenuating circumstances here. Did you follow the story about Tyler Chase from Ned's Declassified? Yeah, I only like a week ago saw that. Maybe you saw the same video as me. He's so mentally ill he will not accept any housing. Yeah, it's really, really, really sad. That was crazy. What happened? The main kid from Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide is brain soup. Homeless. Like really, really, really brain soup. Here, there's like a bunch of YouTube shorts on it.
One former child actor is reaching out on social media hoping to help another.
Sean Wise, who played Goldberg in The Mighty Ducks, is offering help to Tyler Chase, who appeared on Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide.
Chase was recently spotted on a viral social media video where he
Not
was
the main kid? Not the main kid? Okay, gotcha. Whatever.
seen living on the streets of Riverside.
I reached out to some friends of mine, and we have a bed for him at a detox, and we have a place for him to go and get...
This is a secondhand thing. I think this is the video?
A former Nickelodeon star has been found homeless on the streets of Los Angeles. Tyler Chase, who played Martin Quirley on Ned's...
Sorry, these are all going to be like super gratuitous, I guess. Not gratuitous, what's the term? Like rubbernecky, I suppose. The basic gist is that like he's really mentally f***ed and won't accept help. That's the gist of it, you know. I don't want to watch a bunch of like YouTubers like soy face over sensationalists. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, really sad stuff. Happened to the best of us. Going crazy and homeless? Yeah, on a long enough time scale, sure. If we were all immortal, this is what they don't tell you about the elves, man. You watch LOTR, they're like, yeah, elves are all noble all the time. You live forever, eventually you will have your homeless arc, okay? Probably multiple. It's an underexplored element of the... You know who did that good? I'm sorry, this is like kind of a deep cut. Anyone read Sandman before the whole Neil Gaiman shit? Sandman, the guy who said no to death, the guy who made a bet that he would live forever, and then he did because death was watching and thought it was funny. So he like oscillated between periods of time where he was obscenely wealthy and periods of time where he was like poorer than poor, like thought to be dead. That guy, what was his name? Hop Gadling. Thank you. That sounds right. Hop Gadling.
So the city offered him a free apartment. We've seen this kind of thing so many times. I mean, these videos, there's hundreds of them. It's
Millions.
always the same story. We've played many of them on the show before. You can go to any city in the country and find this kind of thing where...
Any city in the country. Jesus Christ. Don't oversell your case, man. I thought that there were plenty of cities in America that had no homeless people. Any city? You can go find video footage of any city in the country where there's a homeless person saying that they won't accept free government housing because of some arbitrary, personal hang-up.
The city has embarked on some kind of program to get the homeless off the street by offering them free housing. And then, you go interview the homeless people and you say, well, hey, why aren't you living in the free housing that was given to you?
So like what solution are they actually offering? The point for these people isn't to fix problems. It's to castigate the out group so they can be used as a permanent subject of blame for society's problems, right? Like the point of the Holocaust wasn't actually to get rid of undesirables. It was to direct social energy towards the extermination of undesirables. It sounds like it sounds like a meaningless difference, but it's actually really, really important. A clearer distinction, or like a clearer way of understanding it, is that the point of the current ICE campaign is not to rid America of immigrants or Somalis or whatever the they're talking about, right? The point of the current ICE campaign is to use ICE agents to brutalize the country. They don't actually want to change, like meaningfully change things. At least they don't want to implement the solutions you'd think they'd want to implement. They just want to use the existence of those problems as a convenient excuse for whatever other things they want to do. In the case of homeless people, unlimited brutality towards the poor.
And you get this. You get this kind of answer, like, well, I didn't want it. It didn't live up to my standards.
Do the black voice. Do the black voice. Come on, Steven Crowder would. Come on, do it. Do it.
This guy says he turned down free housing because he didn't want to neuter his dog, because he wants a puppy. He's living on the street in an abandoned Joann Fabrics.
The funny thing is that like the right winger would absolutely think of this as based in Chad if the context and race were different, right? If there was this like steely-eyed, square-jawed white guy like living the nomad's life out there in Wisconsin or whatever, and they're like, yeah, the government offers me help, but I say no. I don't need a leg up. Just me and my dog here taking on the world. Like they would be, yeah. If the context were different, if the aesthetics were different, they would think this is based. There's not really a principal like position here.
And the city comes to him and says, we will give you a free house, right? It's got heat, it's got air conditioning, it's got electricity.
It's got air conditioning in Seattle? Well, hold on. Not a lot of places in Seattle have air conditioning, okay? Hold your horses, buddy.
You have a sofa, you can have a bed. I mean, you can lock your door at night. And he says, well,
he lives in an abandoned Joanne Fabrics. It's probably like more square footage, right?
I bring my dog? And they say, yeah, you can even bring your dog. You just got to get it neutered, though. Oh, well, well, never mind then. Well, why? What do you mean? Well, I want a puppy. I want a puppy. I mean, and so when I say things like, well, these are bad people get very upset about that, and I get a lot of crap for it. And I will again, because I just said it again. How do you want me to describe that guy? Like, really? Is he a victim? You think that guy's a victim? This is like insane selfishness, like insane levels of selfishness and
is that selfishness? I feel like you're trying to shove a round peg into a square hole. I feel selfishness? Couldn't you make the argument in the opposite direction? Like it would be selfish of him to take up a government housing space that's limited. Like this doesn't really follow. It's just, yeah, it doesn't really work. You know what's interesting? I'm just saying it's not really like selfish. That's just the wrong term. Shouldn't he be supportive of the guy for not taking government handouts? Yeah, no, like it doesn't, none of it really makes sense. The real position, obviously, is that he's scary and black, but whatever. The dog is selfish. The dog is being selfish. The dog was like, hell no, man. I'm not living in there. I want my balls. The owner was like, all right. Jerome was like, okay. All right, man. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this kind of rhetoric is burning out quickly. This kind of like wanton, directionless cruelty. Nick Fuentes did a speech recently about like the importance of Christian kindness. Obviously full of shit. We're not engaging with this as though it's sincere. But I think that like what the MAGA movement is maxing out on right now is detrimental to it. And I think that the biggest misstep they made in that direction recently was Renee Good. It is really difficult to sustain a movement that has nothing but hate. Never backs down 100% of the time, maximum aggression, every point of rhetoric, all the time, everything, all of it, you know? Like, you can be really hateful while pretending to be loving, right? Like, you can say, like, you know, Renee Good's death was a tragic so like, doubling down on calling her a domestic terrorist, investigating her wife via the DOJ, stuff like that. This is a level of wanton cruelty that I think leaves a bad taste in most people's mouths, even bad people. Like, I think that there's a reason why historically really evil regimes still have to frame what they're doing as morally justifiable. And I think this regime is doing a bad job of it. And I think that over time, especially as homelessness becomes more and more and more common, because again, like the housing crisis, in no state in this country is enough being done to address this problem, right? Like it's going to get worse everywhere. As this becomes more and more of an issue, you're going to see more paternalistic conservatism and less of this contemptuous libertarian conservatism, fake libertarianism. Like there's going to be less of this like, anyone can do what they want, you got in our way, you got what you deserve, da-da-da, and more like, you know, you have been led astray by the powers that be. We are guiding you in the correct direction. Does that make sense? Compassionate conservatism? I wouldn't really call it compassionate. I guess it's more like, you ever get the feeling when you see neo-Nazis online that there's a difference between the guy who's like, everyone who disagrees with me is Jewish and or controlled by Jews and I hate them, 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 versus like the Nazi who's like, no. I want to liberate people of all races from the tyrannical multicultural influence that puts all of us at disadvantage, you know? And they both believe the same fundamental thing, but the rhetoric of the latter person are like, there's much more of a like, no, there's a greater plan at work here. We're trying to fix these problems. Matt Walsh isn't even like trying to pretend to fix these problems, you know? It's just like open contempt. It's an older form of conservatism that died out in the 80s pre-neocon stuff. Japan is a place where conservatives are still paternalistic. Yeah, I think I've heard that. Yeah, it's true. Reagan and Thatcher were pretty much the death of that here in the Anglosphere, weren't they? The idea of conservatism being like this stern, like authoritarian, but authoritarian for a common purpose, right? That being fundamentally different from the like, we should just let business rape everything to death. Anyway, I don't know. I feel like it has an expiration date. I really do. Benevolent sexism. Well, in my opinion, I think that's the clearest example, because the current trend of misogyny in the right wing is insane. Like the incel, like all women should die bullshit is not sustainable as a social movement anywhere on earth. They are, I'm sorry to say, guys, they're half of the world. And they're always going to be more or less half of the world, like thereabouts. You can't really build, it's not like races where you can actually kind of separate them. It's pretty straightforward, you know? The open, the contempt that the modern right wing has for women, this like frothing at the mouth hatred, this does not, it can't be sustained. But there is a kind of misogyny that is socially stable, and we had it in forms for thousands of years. And it's like paternalistic, chivalrous sexism, which is the whole like men and women are innately different and they're both equally good, but like we love women, but they have like different roles or whatever. And that was the norm as the mainstream kind of sexism for ages and ages and ages. And recently, like because of the internet and because of like modern populist attitudes towards reactionary sentiment, it's been shifting. And now when you hear about sexism, it's not like, oh, this conservative pastor thinks women should stay at home and have children necessarily. It's more like Andrew Tate saying that women are dogs who don't know how to have like higher thoughts and can't dream or whatever. You get me. It's become more toxic. It's become more toxic and it's become less sustainable. There's less of a future for it, you know? There's like a maximal saturation point for open contempt that past which like you don't really have anything more to say. Women are evil. Okay, what's next? Women are double evil? Like it doesn't you're running out of shit to say. Doesn't make any damn sense. It's not only a shithole, it's an expensive shithole. True. Go to come to Seattle, enjoy your 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment for $3,000. Currently live in Seattle. It's a complete mess. The new mayor's a joke. Can't wait to leave. Got rid of another one. You lost, buddy. Where they moved, Bellevue? Probably, yeah. Bellevue, Renton, Shoreline.